Oh, Mr. PR. Good to have you with us.
I'd say it's good to see you two, you clearly suspicious fuck. But as you can tell, I don't have my glasses on.
Yes, that's clearly the problem.
Why does it smell like breakfast in here?
I don't even.
Well, let me help you with that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
I have magical information for you.
Well, why didn't you say so sooner?
You stupid mother. Listen, I have the potential to turn your phone into a future-telling device. Imagine a world where you
Pass.
What?
I said I'll pass.
Just think about it. It's magical and you can tell the future with it.
Listen, do you realize what type of fucketry could go on if someone had that knowledge? No.
You fucking killjoy. Take this paper and go kill yourself.
Rolling in 3, 2.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those of you who know what the hell you're at. Hopalong PR here, and today we're talking about one of the best fucking anime I've seen in a long time. The Future Diary. And no, this isn't some girly girl anime with a Dear Diary approach. No. This is a fucking dark and brutal show. Not for the weak of heart. Now, if you don't know the show by name, maybe you'll recognize by this bitch. Because I knew when I saw that bitch, I was in for some shit.
Future Diary is one of the best animes I've ever seen, and that's no fucking exaggeration. This show's writing is second to none, and just a warning, this review will have massive spoilers. In fact, there are only 2 things I'm going to withhold from you, because they're at the very end and they're very important. Anyhow...
So for the main plot of this show, 12 people are given diaries, and they're told to survive and kill each other. Winner becomes God. Yeah, I know, kind of par for the course for anime, but... This show, if I could describe it in one word, is batshit crazy. There's a hyphen. It's one word, damn it.
The show's protagonists are Yukitiro Amano and his girlfriend, Yuno Gasai. And this is about their tale of surviving the survival game of all the diary keepers. So I guess I need to say what this survival game is. Well, it was started by the current god of time and space, who is somehow dying, and it's all for the point of finding a successor and a new god, so that way reality can still exist. Of course, with that prize, everyone wants to become god and set the world in a way they want. Now, as you can tell with the various B-roll in the background, this show is, well, batshit crazy. And I mean that in the best possible way. This show is completely unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen next. Well, aside from the shit ton of bloodshed and killing.
Well, that's not entirely true. There are 2 other themes. 1, trust no one. And 2, batshit crazy things make people turn batshit crazy.
So in this show, you see literally everyone betray Yuki, even God itself. But that is part of the show, a theme. You also get to see him slowly change after certain events because he's slowly becoming damaged due to all the shit that's going on. At first, he starts off being a normal dude who's just losing his shit while these killings go on around him. But by the end of the show, he's completely on board with killing, even his closest friends. Now, that might seem like a pretty large leap of logic, but the show's writing actually makes out to be completely reasonable. And you see him get constantly screwed and constantly change because of that.
So, with a couple of good action scenes and plenty of dicketry strewn throughout, this show is fucking awesome when it comes to writing. Because no matter what happened, no matter who it was, everybody's written so goddamn well.
Where do I even begin to explain my love for this show's writing? Well, why not the very beginning? This show starts off with Yuki living his normal, boring life, when all of a sudden God, who he thought was an imaginary friend, gives him a gift that his cell phone will tell him things about the future and things happening around him. Naturally, he uses it to his advantage, like any of us would. But without him realizing it, he has 2 people notice that he has a diary. Both of these people are diary keepers. They then go after Yuki. The first is the murderer who was granted a diary about all the killing he does, and he wants to kill Yuki. The second is Yuno, and her diary is all about Yuki and everything that he does and what happens to him. Now, before I go on any further, I need to have a quick vocab lessons for any American viewers who might not be aware of the term yandere. Yandere's definition is as you see. And no, I did not add her picture in for comedic effect. Literally, if you look up the definition for yandere, you will see a picture of Yuno. Back to the story at hand. After beating what's called a dead end, which is what happens when a diary keeper reads they're gonna die, the god who started all of this officially announces the beginning of the game. Right away, with that intro, you're introduced to what this anime is about. Killing, the survival game, and Yuno being batshit crazy. All these things never change. But what does change are the characters. As the killings become more frequent, Yuki eventually slips into madness and starts killing alongside Yuno. Not because he wanted to, but because he was driven to. The killing game forces Yuki to eventually dirty his hands, but for the longest time, he just relied on Yuno to take care of all the dirty work. It's too often we see a main character remain the general same person throughout the show, only to have them change at the end. Not in this though. You see Yuki slowly become as heartless as everyone else, because he needs to and is forced to. Disappointingly, Yuno doesn't have that character change, but given her character is filled to the brim with crazy, I'm gonna give her a pass on this one. Not because I'm worried about my health or safety or anything. No, never. Now, here's where things get interesting. All of the characters are written as well as the main characters, including the villains.
So, before we go any further, I feel the need to warn people. This show is dark, and it covers some very dark things. There's a 4-letter word, begins with an R, ends in a PE, and no, it's not rope. So if you need to click ahead or click off, by all means, do that. I don't want to upset you, but if you're here still, we're going in.
So getting back to the writing, the strongest point of the writing comes from the villains. We see each villain and we see them go absolutely crazy and start either killing or start to antagonize Yuki or betray him. But with that, we get to see why they're doing what they're doing. You feel for all these characters that are trying to kill Yuki. And personally, I never actually view them as enemies, just humans trying to live their life their own way. Sure, that way involves murder, but it still feels justified. I'll go into detail about 3 other diary keepers. The 4th, the 7th, who are actually 2 people, we'll get to that, and the 9th. The 4th is a detective whose diary is able to read the future based on the cases he works, and originally he wanted to protect Yuki. We also get to learn about him by meeting his wife, and we even see his motivation to win the game. He has a son with a heart disorder, and that son is circling the drain. That impending time till his son's death is what pushes the 4th to the point of betraying Yuki and Yuno. The 7th diary keeper are actually 2 different people, but they're a very close and loving couple, so they are lumped together. We first learn about these characters by looking at what happened to them in the distant past. The girl, Ai, was abandoned as a small child and was found by the boy, Marco, who just so happened to be an abandoned child as well. The 2 grow up in the same orphanage and Ai becomes enamored by Marco, who doesn't see that yet. So some bitches get Ai's number and then trick her to enter an abandoned factory where random dudes tie her up and, well, I'm sure I don't need to actually say it. Anyhow, in a bitter twist of fate, Marco tracks her down and finds her shortly after they're done with her. He goes batshit and murders them. After coming to the realization of what he did, Marco nearly kills himself. But Ai stops him, and after a brief heartfelt speech, the 2 officially become a couple. Their only goal is to live happily with each other for the rest of their lives. And you want that for them. See, the show's writing, you get to see where they come from, and you want to root for them, even though they're not the main characters, and they're opposing the main characters. I personally wanted to see these guys live, but not the case. But they did die happily with each other. Finally, the 9th, whose character arc takes place throughout the entire show. She's introduced as first as the terrorist that has plenty of screws loose. But due to a favor to the 4th, she's left to make sure that the 4th son lives his life peacefully, for however long that may be. With that, she takes up a job as a nurse and grows to be a kind and reliable ally to Yuki. And eventually she's even trusted by God. And to help things progress smoothly, God gives her half his power and knowledge. She started out as the most threatening character. Then she turned into the most reliable and trustworthy character by the end. And she even gets married.
And I hear what a bunch of you are saying. Well, if the plot's forced down your throat, you're gonna eat it regardless. To which I say, good argument. But the pacing of the show makes everything believable. Pacing is everything, and this show's pacing is phenomenal.
The pacing of events is quick enough so that you can experience all the character building, the insane plot, the backstories, and everything else within the 20-minute episodes. That quickness isn't too quick. Everything lasts as long as it needs to. Not long, not too short. It's like a perfect dildo. Of course, if you have a dildo. I used to think that. Also, this is the first anime that I can honestly recommend watching the little funny segments post-credits. I rarely watch that bit in any show. But in this, it adds enough humor to balance out the show's action and gives backstories of how the Diary Keepers became Diary Keepers. Actually, the show itself does the balancing act well enough. Whenever the show gets too batshit crazy, there's usually a part to lighten things up, either beforehand or afterwards. Something that is actually done well to make things appealing enough to keep people going without feeling too overwhelmed by the craziness. Also, despite everything else, the ending actually ends up being a happy ending for everyone. But due to the two things I refuse to tell you, I guess you'll just have to watch it and see how it happens. I guess that makes it 3 things, and I'm a dirty, dirty liar.
So yeah, if you can handle dark subjects and dark topics, I would recommend this to anybody who's willing to listen to me. The writing is smooth as butter, the pacing is fuck levels of good, and you know what? I think we gotta watch it again. And just to... What's this? Oh, that's right! That suspicious thing give me a piece of paper. I wonder what... This can't be. Then... It's here. All the steps and plans. The weeaboo's dream can come true. You know, sometimes I listen to the shit that comes out of my mouth, and I realize it's fucking ridiculous. But bear with me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have anything you want to say, make some noise down in the comments below. And thank you for staying weird.